Welcome to the interview series Inside the Players Lounge, and today our very special guest from somewhere in the world. He's been all over the world right now, so from far away is Richard La Ruina, also goes by Gambler. So let's give him a warm welcome. All right, so as we usually do, we start off with finding out about how you came to be in this seat today. So what was your journey from being whatever you were before to now being good with girls?
Well, I always like to tell my story a little bit differently, because I think guys have maybe heard some of it before. But some parts are always there, and the thing that was there in the beginning for me was a lot of pain. So I was very unhappy, depressed, unconfident, all of that stuff, and that was not just right before I started learning how to pick up women, but actually from the point where socializing, making friends, talking to girls, when that stuff became important. So 13, 14, 15, 16, all of those years to 21 were really, really tough. I didn't like school, I was bullied, I stayed home a lot, and it meant that I actually got bad grades, so it affected my life in many ways. I lived with my mother, I didn't have a male influence, I didn't have a big family, and so I would just come home, I would sit there, I'd watch TV, and I remember the worst time of the week was Sunday night. It would be like 10 PM, Sunday night, and I knew I had to go to school the next day, and I hated it because the kids would bully me, people would call me names. So this was kind of where I came from. And the toughest thing when it came to picking up women was that I was just very bad socially, so guys didn't like me, girls definitely wouldn't like me, I couldn't imagine how to get a girl's number, how to get a date, and this all lasted until I was 21. My jobs were unsociable, so I didn't get the experience of talking to people through work. I only went to university for a few months, and I didn't get any results there. I had opportunities there, but completely blew them. Like 2 opportunities, completely blew them. So I was in this place where I didn't think anything would work. Things were only going to get tougher. But I was very lucky when I was 21, and I actually did manage to get a girlfriend. It was the first time, not just the first time I slept with a girl, but the first time I kissed a girl, the first time I talked to a strange girl for more than 10 minutes, the first time I got a number. It was the first everything. So really I should have failed, it should have gone wrong, because you shouldn't succeed the first time you try and get a number, the first time you get a date. It should have gone wrong. But I was very lucky, it worked, and she was my first girlfriend. And then the second girl I slept with actually was in Singapore.
Really?
Yeah. I came back to Singapore to visit this girl. She was my ex-girlfriend by then, and one of her colleagues was there. I just read the game. I was getting a little bit more confident. I thought I knew what to do, and I managed to sleep with this girl. I think we went to, I don't know, Zouk, or I don't know, one of them bars.
Wow.
And then I managed to get her back to the hotel, but it was not so smooth, but it worked, So that was like the beginnings. But since then, I think the main thing is because I felt so much pain, I put so much effort into it, and I decided that I really needed to take control. So it was a combination of having that desperation, but also a lot of belief, because you've seen all these pickup gurus, you've seen their stories, they've all overcome big obstacles. There's a lot of inspirational stuff out there, not even just the pickup stuff, but Lance Armstrong, and there's that book out there by the guy that lost his arms and legs and stuff, right? There's so many inspirational stories, and it just took that belief in me that it was possible, and the belief and the desperation, and then a lot of work.
Nice. So there are a couple things that I wanted to address. So I do them in order. So the first one was the fact that you moved away from that smaller town into London, and that was a big shift, because I had to do something like that as well, to move to a bigger pool and get more experience.
And a fresh start is good as well, because people don't know you and they treat you, that you know, they're going to meet you and make that impression of you. But if you're in the place where, I remember I used to go and meet my old boss, and even though I hadn't worked for a few years, I would slip into that kind of, oh yes boss, okay, what would you like me to do? And when you're staying in the same place, you have all of those anchors, you know, if you look at NLP or whatever, but you've got all these associations with your unhappy past. So I wanted to break all that and go somewhere where it could be like a fresh start with the new me, you know, hopefully. That was the plan.
So going off we had a little bit of prepared questions, so we were doing his background, but going off that into what a lot of Singaporean guys wonder, and that they also have this problem, is that they grew up, they were raised here, they were born here, they were raised here, and they're still here as 30-year-olds trying to get better with women. And many of them try to go overseas for study, and sometimes they get government scholarships and they get a year or two overseas. But they're pretty much still in the same situation, because Singapore is a city-state, so if you actually moved anywhere, you'd actually have to move out of the country. Yeah. So these anchors, these associations are there from when they were 5 years old still, and now are there any ways that you could think of that within the same city, assuming it's big enough of a pool, to make any kind of breaks? What would you suggest with that?
Yeah, I think that if I'd, you know, London's a big place, and I think that just going to a different area, it's really just looking at your daily life and seeing all of the associations and changing as many of them as possible. So if you can't leave the country or the city, you can still change a lot of what you do. Even something like how you dress is an anchor, even the people you talk to every day, all your daily routine stuff, all of that stuff is an association that keeps you where you are. You know, so changing, you can still change a lot. Yeah.
Well, one thing I noticed is the guys are still living in the same bedroom that they had when they were in high school, like when they were 16, and it's the same house, the same HDB flat, and it hasn't been improved yet, and they're still using the same curtains. Maybe they still have the Superman bed sheets. You know, so a fresh start. Often for the one-on-one guys I go to, I want to make sure that they change their room, they change the decor, get some new furniture at least. And another thing that you did was you moved into a house with other guys who were flatmates, and you said that it forced you to be social when you got home.
Yeah,
so you couldn't
if I was living on my own, I think it would have been, you know, real disaster. I actually tried to move into this place that had 12 bedrooms. Nice. That was full of people from all different countries. You know, had like Brazilians, Spanish people, everyone coming to England. It was changing all the time. But I don't know, I missed the offer on that, so I didn't stay in that place. But that would have been even better. But just to be somewhere where it's a different social situation. You know, your mother is always going to teach you. It's always going to treat you like a little kid, you know. And it's only when, you know, you break those, and even a friend that is like your friend, but he's like alpha. You know, he's always going to treat you like the beta friend. So to change, you have to break as many of these connections as possible. Maybe not entirely, of course. You know, I love my mum. I go and see her a lot. But,
and one of the things you want your mom to do is treat you like a child. Like when you go back home, you want her to make you food, and you want her to spoil you a bit. What are you doing back here? Get out. Yeah, that's her job.
Look after yourself. Yeah, of course.
You don't want to change her into like a nice gal friend that you can chat about sex with. That's just weird, right? So, I mean, that's one thing I was forced to do was move every 4 to 8 months for about 5 years because of my PhD. So I was going between Michigan to Toronto, to China, Beijing, Qingdao, back to Toronto every 4 to 6 months. And that gave me a fresh start. So I could actually experiment with different styles of socializing. I could be a brand new self. I could use new archetypes, new fashion, and try just brand new social circles. And it's when I moved to Singapore and I was coaching here, because before I was mainly coaching expats in China. I moved here and it was looking at the fact that all of these anchors were still there, but there are lots of things you can do. So in London, real estate is really expensive. Like rent is really expensive, and it's like that in New York. And people just budget that. It's just part of. So according to, correct me if I'm wrong, World Bank or IMF, if you are paying more than 1/3 of your income into your living for your rent, then you're in the poverty zone.
Right.
So if you're paying 1/4, so just take your monthly income divided by 4, and if you should be able to take that and budget it well enough to make that your rent. Because one excuse that Singaporean guys make is Singapore is so expensive with the rent and so on, when actually it's cheaper than London, cheaper than New York for what you get. I think the average rent now in New York, I just saw an article on my Facebook feed, was over almost $3,500 for an apartment. So that obviously that's more than 1 bedroom, it's more than 2 bedrooms, but that's the average. So it's tough to get rent there, but people still will rent because they can't buy. So here's a great opportunity for you. I've been trying to suggest to some guys who have disposable income, if they're making more than $3 grand a month, they can afford to go out and rent a place. And I found a place with its very own lap pool, and it was like 6 bedrooms each. You could split it, and it would come out to about $1,500 each. So you'd have to make a little bit more to make that work, but 1,500 Singapore dollars each for a party pad, a penthouse with its own lap pool,
Very cool.
2 stories. I mean, this is going to be really, really great for giving you independence and for helping you to learn to be, just your own man. So you went out on your own, you met these flatmates, and then the other thing that was interesting was that you met this coach who you're just. So what is your view? I'm just going to jump to that, like, fast forward now. So what's your view of current state of the field for the pickup industry? Like, because what the Aura Dating Academy is trying to do is to, and I've personally been trying to do this for a few years, to move away from my pickup artist roots, because it's actually just it's soul sucking.
Yes.
To pretend to be this guy who can close 100% of the time. These guys make you think, like, they think that you're like Superman and you can use your eyes to burn through walls and stuff. So so I don't know as well as you. I mean, you're very well connected and you're actually right in the middle of all that. And I should say you're at the top of all that. So what's your view of the current state of the field as far as the industry goes?
Well, the company's called PUA Training, and that was the name I came up with in 5 minutes back in the day, just because that was the guys that I wanted to appeal to were guys that had read The Game by Neil Strauss, so it wasn't really that. I don't think that being a pickup artist is a good identity, especially long term. If you're 50 years old and you're still a pickup artist, it's very strange. And a lot of the time, for political reasons, I can't say what I really think. So, for example, a PUA who's been doing it for years will say, "Okay, this week I'm going to go out and get at least 1 number a day," and I'm like, why would you need to do that? If you go and approach 3 beautiful girls and you're dating 3 at once, surely that would be enough. And if you're getting 1 number a day and you're getting 30 in a month, then you're obviously not seeing those girls, because if you were, what do? You'd have 1 date with one, sleep with her, leave. It's not really how things work unless you're mental. You meet a girl. If you like her enough to have sex with her, you probably want to have sex with her again, unless you're drunk and it's a nightclub or whatever. But in most cases, that's how it works. So there's tons of strange things, and the pickup artist movement is good. It's what brought most of us here, and it's what gave a lot of guys happiness. But there are still there's still the weird side of it. And it's good to just keep in mind a healthier goal, that you want to be a better man and you want to be good with women, rather than wanting to be a pickup artist, which is strange. But as I said, PUA training, so I can't.
Hey, if you like our video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and remember to like our Facebook fan page for videos only on Facebook.